Okay, this is Miss Whitaker, and I wanted to go over the ratio notes for regular math today. This is section 5.1 in your textbook, so please feel free to take a look at your online textbook for any examples or video tutorials to get a little bit better grasp on our material. Now, we are talking about ratios. If you look up at the top of the notes, you see that a ratio is a comparison of two numbers. In this example, Tamara has 2 dogs and 8 fish. The ratio of dogs to fish can be written in 3 different ways. So please note these 3 different ways on your homework. It does ask you to give the answer in all 3 formats, and that's what you're told right here in your notes. One of the ways is using the word to. So the ratio of dogs to fish is 2 dogs to 8 fish, and I can use the word to. That can be reduced to 1 to 4, so that's simplest form. So whenever it's asking for simplest form, go ahead and reduce if you can, just like you would a fraction. Another way is the colon. So you would still say 2 to 8, but you would use the colon instead, and in simplest form it's 1 to 4. And then you'd also have your fraction 2 to 8. You all say all of these 2 to 8. 2 and then the word 2 and then 8. But they can be written in all 3 of these formats. And again, you can reduce the fraction. All right, so let's take a look at some of the examples you have here in your notes. In a basket of fruit, there's 8 apples, 3 bananas, 5 oranges. Let's write each ratio in all 3 forms. That's also in your homework. All right, so how many apples are there if we're looking for apples to bananas? So we're going to look back up in the problem. We've got 8 apples. And how many bananas? We've got 3 bananas. So the ratio of apples to bananas, make sure we do it in the right order, is 8 to 3, or 8 to 3, or 8 to 3. That's all 3 formats that we learned up at the top there. All right, let's take a look at number 2, oranges to apples. How many oranges do we have? We've got 5, and we've still have 8 apples. So the ratio of oranges to apples, make sure you go in that order. Oranges to apples is 5 to 8, or 5 to 8, or 5 to 8. So hopefully doing these examples will help you with your homework, especially the beginning section. So let's move on to number 3. Bananas to oranges. Oops, I need to move that down a little bit so I can see. Bananas to oranges. How many bananas? 3 bananas. How many oranges? 5. So the ratio of bananas to oranges in that order is 3 to 5. 3 to 5 and 3 to 5. That's all 3 ways we can express that ratio. All right, number 4, apples to all pieces of fruit. So how many apples? We've got 8 apples. Now how many all pieces of fruit in all, including the apples? Don't forget that. So let's count all the fruit. We've got 8, 3, that makes 11, and 5, that's 16. So we have 16 pieces of fruit in all. So the ratio of apples to all pieces of fruit is going to be 8 to 16, or 8 to 16, or 8 to 16. And when you get it in fraction form, you might notice that you could probably reduce that. So yeah, I could reduce it to 1 to 2, 1 to 2, and 1 to 2 if I'm asked to write in simplest form. All right, let's take a look at the bottom examples here. It says a large bouquet of flowers is made up of 18 roses, 16 daisies, and 24 iris. Write each ratio in all 3 forms. All right, roses to iris. How many roses? We have 18. And how many iris? We have 24. So 18 to 24, 18 to 24, 18 to 24. Now, if it asked us to do that in simplest form, then we could reduce. Let's see, we could divide by 6, and it would be 3 to 4. So that would be acceptable as well if you want to reduce. But go ahead, let's just go ahead and stick to the original unless it states to identify in simplest form. All right, daisies to roses, it's going to be 16 to 18, 16 to 18, 16 to 18. Iris to daisies, it's going to be 24 to 16, 24 to 16, 24 to 16. And make sure, hopefully you're noticing that I'm going in the order that I'm asked. It says iris to daisies, so iris is first, then the daisies. Now we've got roses to all the flowers. So how many roses? We have 18. Now how many flowers do we have in all? We add the 18 and the 16. That's going to be 34. And then we add another 24. So that's going to be 58. So 18 to 58, 18 to 58, and 18 to 58. All right, so those are all three forms of ratios. Now let's turn your note page over, go to the back. It says to compare ratios, you write them as fractions with a common denominator, then we compare the numerator. So just like we compare fractions to see which one's bigger, which one's less, we're going to do that same thing with ratios. We need a common denominator. All right, so we've got, says, tell whose bag has the greater ratio of solid marbles to striped marbles. We've got this table over here that says that Ken's got 5 solids and 9 stripes. Val has 7 solids and 12 stripes. So first thing we're going to do is write the ratio of solid marbles to striped marbles for each bag. Ken's bag has solid to striped 5 to 9. In Val's bag, solid to striped is 7 to 12. Now we've got to find a common denominator if we want to see who has the greater ratio of solid marbles to striped marbles. So let's get a common denominator for our 9 and our 12. And that could be 36. So we're going to do 36 as our common denominator. And then we're going to rewrite our ratios. And if we change the denominator, we have to change the numerator, just like we did with equivalent fractions. So we ended up with 20 over 36, and that is Ken. And then we ended up with 21 over 36 for Val. So now we just compare the numerators, and it looks like Ken has got less than Val. So Val's bag has the greater ratio of solid to striped marbles. All right, so now that we've walked through that example, let's fill in some of the blanks down below. Number 9. It says, tell whose bookshelf has the greater ratio of novels to biographies. Now we've got Tina and Mark. Tina's got 3 novels to 5 biographies, and Mark has 5 novels to 8 biographies. Novels are the stories, and biographies is like a personal story about somebody. All right, so novels to biographies for Tina's bookshelf is 3 to 5, and for Mark's is 5 to 8. So go ahead and fill that in. Now we're going to have to get a common denominator for 5 and 8. What's that going to be? I think it's going to be 40. So let's rewrite those fractions with a common denominator of 40. What are we doing to the 5 to get to the 40? I think we're multiplying by 8. So we got to do the same thing to the numerator. What's 3 times 8? 24. So this is our new fraction for Tina. Our new ratio, I'm sorry, our new ratio. It looks like a fraction, but it's a ratio. We're comparing novels to biographies. All right, so for Mark's bookshelf, from 8 to 40, we're multiplying by 5, so do the same thing to your numerator. That's 25. Now it looks like Mark has the greater ratio, so that's going to be our answer. Mark's bookshelf has the greater ratio of novels to biographies. So we needed a common denominator to compare. So that's going to also be in your homework. So go over the notes, just follow the notes to complete your homework, and let me know if you have any questions.